Good day or evening, dear participants. In this fifth lecture of Module 4, we are going to focus on understanding emerging pedagogies in curriculum implementation. Let us introduce this topic. As highlighted in the introduction section of this chapter, Education 2030 seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. This kind of education calls for suitable pedagogies. Pedagogy is the combination of teaching methods, what educators or teacher educators do, learning activities, what educators ask their students to do, and learning assessments, the assignments, projects, or tasks that assess student learning. Pedagogy is shaped by educators' teaching beliefs and involves their understanding of culture and different learning styles. The difference between a pedagogical approach and pedagogical techniques is 1. Pedagogical approach. This is a completely unified method of looking at teaching. It takes several elements from all the approaches of pedagogy, which include constructivism, behaviorism, or liberationism. It further applies that approach in all aspects of teaching. Study the illustration as shown on the screen. 2. Pedagogical technique. Defines a set of actions performed by the educator in the classroom for teaching. It includes flipped learning, group activities, computational thinking, and project learning. Emerging pedagogies are transformative because they are based on a philosophy of teaching and learning that is adaptive and responsive to particular students in a class and the shifting social, cultural, environmental, and political context. The purpose of transformative pedagogy is to support educators to create innovative learning processes that empower learners and engages them as whole persons in participatory and collaborative activities that contribute to their sense of self, purpose, belonging, interconnection, and agency. The pedagogy is an active process involving thoughts, feelings, and disposition. Study the shown figure that shows key principles of transformative pedagogy. Some examples of emerging pedagogies. 1. Integrative pedagogy, where learners integrate different forms of knowledge and skills, such as theoretical, practical, experiential, and self-regulative, and reflect on their learning processes and outcomes. 2. Inquiry-based learning, where learners explore a topic or phenomenon through questioning, investigation, and evidence-based reasoning. 3. Gamified learning, where learners participate in game-like activities that motivate them to achieve specific goals and rewards. 4. Flipped learning, where learners access instructional content online before class and use class time for interactive and collaborative activities. 5. Blended learning, where learners combine online and face-to-face learning experiences that are personalized and flexible. 6. Constructivist pedagogy, where learners actively construct their own meaning and knowledge from their experiences and interactions with others and the world. 7. Collaborative pedagogy, where learners work together to share ideas, perspectives, and feedback, and co-construct knowledge and understanding. 8. Reflective pedagogy, where learners engage in critical reflection on their own and others' assumptions, beliefs, and actions, and examine how they affect their learning and development. Some transformative pedagogies for curriculum implementation. 1. Critical pedagogy, where learners critically examine the social, cultural, and political dimensions of their own and others' experiences and challenge dominant ideologies and power structures. 2. Culturally responsive pedagogy, where learners are empowered to draw on their own and others' cultural backgrounds, identities, and languages as valuable resources for learning and development. 3. Place-based pedagogy, where learners connect with their local and natural environments and explore the ecological, historical, and cultural aspects of their communities. 4. Student-centered pedagogy, where learners are given more autonomy and choice in their learning processes and outcomes and are supported by teachers as facilitators and guides. Emerging pedagogies are appropriate to the 4 pillars of Education 2030 because they are commensurate with a variety of learning domains in the following ways. 1. Cognitive learning objectives, mostly through fundamental content knowledge. 2. social-emotional learning objectives, value-based, including critiquing well-established practices. Learning should nurture sustainability competencies, such as inclusivity, collaboration, equity, intercultural understanding and tolerance, self-respect, and respect for others. Ubuntu Unhu Vumunhu. 3. Behavioral or action-oriented learning outcomes, which include applied evidence of values, often shown through active learning and engagement with issues and concerns. 4. Transformative social learning outcomes, which involve engagement with communities and action-oriented programs that result in wider changes. In short, any pedagogy should foster lifelong learning. The whole idea is to develop core competencies that students should be able to use throughout their lives. Core competencies are sets of intellectual, personal, social, and emotional proficiencies that all students need to develop in order to engage in deep learning and lifelong learning, according to Greater Heights Learning Academy in 2023. An example of core competencies is as follows. 1. Communication. The communication competency encompasses the set of abilities that students use to impart and exchange information, experiences, and ideas, to explore the world around them, and to understand and effectively engage in the use of digital media. 2. Thinking. The thinking competency encompasses the knowledge, skills, and processes we associate with intellectual development. It is through their competency as thinkers that students take subject-specific concepts and content and transform them into a new understanding. Thinking competence includes specific thinking skills as well as habits of mind and metacognitive awareness. 3. Personal and social. Personal and social competency is the set of abilities that relate to students' identity in the world, both as individuals and as members of their community and society. Personal and social competency encompasses the abilities students need to thrive as individuals, to understand and care about themselves and others, and to find and achieve their purposes in the world. Let us reflect. We discussed the aspects of emerging pedagogies in curriculum implementation, including transformative pedagogies. Now, what questions should we start asking ourselves? What comes to my immediate thinking is: 1. What pedagogy or what combination of teaching methods can be adopted to develop the competencies such as communication, thinking, personal, and social? 2. What pedagogies, from the emerging and transformative pedagogies, are you implementing at your school or in your country in general? Reflect in writing on these two questions using the Gibbs Reflective Cycle Guide, which will be shared with you in this module. Compile your reflection in the e-journal available within the e-learning platform in use in this self-paced online course. Share your reflections with your colleagues at work, and also share them on the Community of Practice platform, which will be shared with you. In conclusion, this lecture has introduced you to the concept of emerging, including transformative pedagogies in curriculum implementation and how they relate to the 4 pillars of education 2030. You have learned about some examples of emerging and transformative pedagogies, such as inquiry-based learning, critical pedagogy, and place-based pedagogy. You have also learned about some core competencies that students need to develop for lifelong learning, such as communication, thinking, and personal and social competencies. Finally, you have been asked to reflect on your own pedagogical practices and how they align with the emerging and transformative pedagogies. We hope that this lecture has inspired you to explore new ways of teaching and learning that are relevant, engaging, and empowering for you and your students. If you have any questions or challenges, please use the discussion forum of Module 4 under Lecture 5 to ask questions and answer other participants' questions as well. Thank you for your attention.